Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have got a lot of meal prepping ideas for you guys. I've got stuff in here for my kids' lunches and dinners, as well as some family stuff too. So stick around and hopefully you can get some inspiration for some great budget meal prepping. All right, you guys, my first idea is pretty simple, peanut butter sandwiches. And I know that sounds like not a very inspiring place to start, but I'm serious when I tell you that this little sandwich pocket maker is amazing for meal prep. So this little maker, it came in a set. There's like a square and some triangles. My kids got it as a gift from their uncle for Christmas, and they are just crazy for these little pocket sandwiches that they make. It's really easy. The first one actually that I did here didn't turn out that great because I used the little like end of the bread loaf, and it works really best when you have like the full surface area of like soft bread so that it seals. But you just put the cookie cutter part in first and then the stamp part on the inside, and it seals the edges like an Uncrustable, if you're familiar with that brand. And it's really great because it's really portable, and the best part, you guys, I put these directly into my freezer, and then when the kids want one, I pop it in the air fryer, and it makes the most delicious, toasty little peanut butter sandwich you can imagine. And of course, it really fits in the budget because what's cheaper than a loaf of bread and peanut butter? It also came with a third cutter that you could use to cut like cheese or meat if you wanted to make a different kind of pocket sandwich, and I just thought it was super clever. So I will leave a link to these from Amazon down below. I also wanted to show you guys the silicone bag. I got a set of them from Amazon. I need to buy more because I find that I really like using that large size, and only one came with the pack. But I thought I would show them to you because if you are someone who likes to meal prep, sometimes the plastic bags can get a little bit out of control. And if you're like me and you're trying to be a little bit more sustainable for 2021, I definitely recommend those silicone bags. So now that they are all finished, I'm just popping them right in the freezer, and I'm telling you, my kids absolutely love these. They're so good and so easy, and I think better than the Uncrustables because you get to select whatever type of bread your family likes, whatever type of peanut butter or jelly or fillings or whatever. You can put anything in there and customize it. All right, my next thing for you guys, I'm making my own protein waffles. Now I know you've probably seen the protein waffles at the store, and they're really expensive. So I've just got a box of Bisquick here. You could also use your store brand of just basic baking mix. And I'm actually going to follow the directions for waffles on the back, but instead of 2 cups of Bisquick, I'm gonna use 1.5 cups of Bisquick and substitute in 1/2 cup of protein powder. You can use any type of protein powder you want. I like this one, I get it from Amazon, and my family really likes the chocolate. I find that just keeping it in a powder form like this is more versatile because I can add it to lots of different things instead of it already being in the pancake and waffle mix. And my kids love that they are chocolate. It seems like a treat for them, even though it's actually full of really good ingredients and really healthy ingredients. You can also try the vanilla is really good in a waffle, or I don't know, it comes in all kinds of flavors that you can find. You don't have to use plant protein either. A lot of times if you use like whey, it's a little bit cheaper. They do take just a tad longer to cook than your average waffle, and they sometimes are just a slight bit softer, but my kids really love them, and we actually divide them into quarters anyway when we take them out so that my kids can dunk them in syrup. It's way less messy to do it that way, so I would definitely recommend that if you have kids that get syrup all over the place. And one recipe of this makes like 4 large like Belgian style waffles. So I just doubled the recipe. So I ended up making 8 waffles, and my whole kitchen smelled so good and chocolatey, and these all didn't even make it into the freezer. The kids walked by and kept taking quarters of them, and yeah, I think we probably ate about 3 of them that day. I actually also put these in my air fryer to heat them up, but you could also put them in your toaster. My next one is also seemingly uninspiring because, you guys, it's just applesauce, but I'm prepping it with these reusable pouches. I don't know about you, but my kids love a pouch. I don't even know why. It's the same applesauce, but if I put it in a pouch, they will make sure they eat every last drop of it. So I found these pouches on Amazon, and they are dishwasher safe, and I just reuse them and I just throw my applesauce in there. This is going to be especially good if you've got kids in school for lunches, or if you're trying to school from home. This could make lunchtime maybe a little bit easier and less stressful if you made these ahead of time. Also, these be good if you made your own baby food. I wish I had these years ago. I've just gotten tons of use out of them, and it's really handy to just fill them all up and have them in the fridge ready for the kids whenever they're hungry. Next, I'm going to be making my own pizza dough. I mentioned this in a video recently and you guys wanted to see it. I use the Food Network's recipe. I will leave a link to it down below. It starts off with a little bit of water, and you're gonna wanna heat that up in the microwave just a little bit. Then we're going to add some sugar, and we're gonna whisk that all until it's dissolved. Now I'm gonna throw my yeast on the top, and I'm going to let it bloom. It's gonna take about 10 minutes, and it'll get nice and foamy and activated. Now I'm going to combine my flour and I think it's 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm also going to create a well in the center, and that's where I'm going to add my liquid once it is done blooming. Now to the liquid, I'm adding my oil here, and I'm just going to mix that all up. Now you could do this in a stand mixer. Normally I go for the stand mixer when it comes to this kind of stuff, but the recipe specifically uses a bowl and a wooden spoon, so I decided to do it by hand today, and I just poured it in the center, and I'm just slowly incorporating my dry ingredients to the wet until I have a nice, what they call shaggy dough. Now on a lightly floured surface, I'm gonna plop all of that out, form it into a ball, and start to knead it. At this moment, I started slightly regretting not using the KitchenAid stand mixer because it will take about 5 minutes by hand to do this. But honestly, it's a stressful time right now. Get your aggression out on a ball of dough. I'm serious, there is nothing more therapeutic than getting some dough in your hands. So after 5 minutes, your dough ball will be nice and smooth, and I'm going to let that rise in a greased bowl covered in plastic wrap. Now, if you are in a warm environment, you can leave it right on your counter. I like to put mine in my oven. My oven is not on though, but I turn the light on, and that is nice and warm in there. And after about an hour and a half, it will double in size. You know your dough is done rising if you stab it and it does not spring back. And now I'm just gonna knock the air out of it by squishing it in my hands a bit, and I'm gonna take it and rip it into 2 parts, because this is actually enough for 2 pizzas. So one, I'm actually gonna wrap in the saran wrap that I used to cover it. Put a little oil on there just so that it doesn't get super stuck. And this is actually going to be a pizza for another day. This stays good frozen for a month, so you can make a ton of this dough. You can have pizza every day. You can have it in the freezer waiting for you. It keeps for a long time. And actually, the other ball I'm gonna make for dinner tonight. I will leave instructions down below of like how long I bake it and how I like pre-bake it. It's called a blind bake when you bake it before you put the toppings on, just because I find that it makes the crust a little bit crispier. And you'll notice, you guys, that I'm using my homemade cheese on this pizza. If you want to see how I make my own cheese, I will leave that video down below. And you would never know that that was the cheapest pizza you could ever make. The last thing I'm gonna make, you guys, is some lasagna. This is one of my favorite things to meal prep because it's really easy to do. Today I am making 3 mini lasagnas. These seem to be the perfect portions for my family, and I like that I can freeze it really easily. The interesting thing that I'm doing with this recipe is I'm actually using lentils instead of meat. I don't eat meat, and some of you have actually recently asked me for some vegetarian recipes, and this is one of my favorites. I swap out the ground beef in my lasagna for lentils. It's really weird that when you try to find a vegetarian lasagna recipe, they just like fill it with broccoli, and I just want it to be lasagna. I just don't want it to have meat. So lentils do the trick, and I just follow the instructions right on the package. I also am using like regular lasagna noodles, not the ones that you bake first. And I'm just using what I have going. I've got this can of like really plain, super cheap sauce. I will leave all the proportions and everything down below, but you can just use a jar of marinara. Like, lasagna is super forgiving, you guys. But I just add whatever spices I got laying around today: basil, oregano, salt, pepper, and those lovely lentils. And it's not super meaty tasting. It doesn't taste like fake meat. It is its sort of own texture, but it's really good. For my ricotta layer, I'm using a 15-ounce tub of ricotta, an egg, a sprinkle of Parmesan, and the same spices that I put into my sauce. And I'm just gonna mix that up. It's so easy. I don't even really follow a recipe when I make lasagna. Now, the basic layers of lasagna, it goes sauce, noodles, ricotta, sauce, noodles, ricotta. And each of these will have 3 really nice layers, and these like proportions work out perfectly in these 3 little dishes. But you could also just make 1 big lasagna, or you could double that and make 2 big lasagnas depending on the size of your family. I just love these like small portions so that I don't have any leftovers at all. You'll notice there I totally put that noodle on before I put the sauce on, but I'm glad I caught myself. And I had the cheese divided into thirds, that ricotta, so that I would not run out. The very final layer, you just put the sauce on, and then you add cheese. Now I've chosen to go with mozzarella and a little bit of parm, but definitely some Asiago would be good on there. Some of that crumble would have been good. My homemade cheese would have been good, but I didn't think about it for some reason. Now these 2 in the foil are gonna go in the freezer for another time, and this one is gonna go in the refrigerator. I'm going to cook that for dinner tomorrow night. Alright, you guys, I am finally done with my meal prepping for the day. It did take a little bit of time, but definitely time well spent, because I'll definitely be thankful that I have it later in the week. So yeah, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of these ideas, and leave me the ones that you use for your kids, for all meals, for snacks, anything like that. I love getting ahead of it with my kids, especially because it seems like the second things are going smoothly, someone is hungry for something. I love meal prepping like this because it saves me money, it saves me time. It's like the best of both of the things that matter to me. That got deeper than I was expecting it to. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!